Hey Suffield, what are experts saying is on the horizon for the real estate market for the end of the year and into 2024? Find out and take a listen to this month's Suffield Housing Market Update. But first, let's take a look at what's been happening in Suffield. For Suffield, in July, 6 homes were sold, and that's down 68% from July of 2022. 7 new listings came on the market, and that's down 36%. The sales price to list price ratio is 99.7%, and that's down 4%. And the average price per square foot is $226 a square foot, and that's up 20%. July's average sale price was $387,000, and that's down 19%. And the average days on market were 64 days, and that's up 52% from 2022. The month's supply of inventory is 4.67 months, and that's up 147% from July of 2022. So how that works is 6 months is considered a balanced market. So anything more than 6 months is a buyer's market, and anything less than 6 months is a seller's market. So at 4.67 months, we are still very much in a seller's market. So I talk a lot about inventory and how we're historically low, and I also talk about how that inventory is keeping upward pressure on pricing. That's a conversation I have with consumers every day out in the marketplace, as I often get asked if we're anticipating a crash. Well, I wish I had a crystal ball, but what I can tell you is simple supply and demand economics is not calling for a crash anytime soon. This graph does a great job exemplifying just how low our inventory is. As the graph shows, while housing inventory did grow slightly week over week, overall supply is still low. And compared to the same week last year, supply is down roughly 10% nationally. And it was already considered low at that time. And in Suffield, we can even see, as shown before, that inventory has increased year over year. But if you look further back, you'll see inventory is down even more significantly. To gauge just how far off from normal today's inventory is, let's compare right now to 2019, which was the last normal year we really saw in the market. When you compare the same week this year with the matching week in 2019, supply is about 50% lower. That means there are half the homes for sale right now than they would normally be, and we are very far from a balanced market. The chief economist at the National Association of Realtors offers this perspective. There are simply not enough homes for sale. The market can easily absorb a doubling of inventory. That said, when it comes to home prices, it's very interesting to see what the experts were saying and how they have now adjusted their forecasts. The original forecast from December of last year is in that middle column. And if you see, the MBA was calling for -0.6, Fannie Mae, -1.5, Morgan Stanley, all the way down to the AEI, 15 to 20% down. And CoreLogic was actually up 3%. Now, look at the last column. MBA said we're going to be flat. Fannie Mae actually up 3.9%, Morgan Stanley flat. The AEI, who was down up to 20%, is now up 6%. That just shows how much confusion there was out in the marketplace. Zillow 5.5%, and CoreLogic even more positive news at 6.8%. Now, don't forget there is a difference between depreciation and deceleration of appreciation. Deceleration of appreciation is not the same as home prices are depreciating. And experts are also calling for the return to seasonality, so if you look month over month, you may see a % change. And let's do a quick sidebar here. This graph shows the Case-Shiller 48-year average month price lead movement, so you can see the normal month-to-month shift on home prices that happens with typical seasonality. That's what I'm talking about. So if you look month over month, sure, you may see a change. And I'm sure the sensationalized headlines might even say prices are dropping, but deceleration in appreciation due to normal seasonality is not a crash in house prices. And you know how I know this is true? Inventory. Okay, so we talked about inventory, my favorite topic, and we talked about what experts are saying about home price appreciation and the return to seasonality. So now let's talk about mortgage rates. Buyer demand is staying strong, and buyers have even shown their resiliency, with buyer demand still being strong even with rates up into the 7s. And the great news is that experts are predicting that we should see some relief in mortgage rates as we head into 2024 and as inflation continues to cool. This chart shows some great projections going forward. If you look at the left-hand column going down, as we start the fourth quarter in 2023 and go to the third quarter of 2024. This looks at Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and the National Association of Realtors. Then it averages all three. And what we can see is everyone seems to think that by the end of the year, we'll be somewhere close to 6. And then as we go through next year, we're going to break the 6 number into the 5s. And that's going to be crucially important. For sellers that are locked in because of their mortgage rate and maybe they refinanced at a 4 or even a 3, they might not be making a move right now. They may take a low 6, but what I think the magic number is going to be, and Zillow actually just did a survey on this, is that once mortgage rates break into the 5s, that's going to be a game changer. I can only hope that's going to bring even more normalcy back into the marketplace, and that is great news. Wondering if it still makes sense to sell your house right now? Well, the short answer is yes, especially if you consider how few homes there are for sale on the market and how that is keeping upward pressure on pricing and even creating many multi-offer scenarios. You are in an excellent equity position, and with rates predicted to come down if you sell and buy now, you can refinance into the short future. So if now feels like the right time to make a move, DM me and we can talk about the equity in your home and how we can use that equity to fuel your next move. Thanks for your likes, shares, and comments. And if you found this information useful, click that subscribe button below. All right, this is your Suffield housing market update. See you next month.